Welcome to Earthly Reads, a My Cup of Earth production. Inside a magical school, the sun was shining brightly on the rolling hills of the countryside as a small, rusty gate creaked open, revealing a hidden path. The path wound its way through a lush green forest, the trees growing taller and the air growing sweeter with every step. The scent of freshly baked cookies wafted through the air, enticing anyone who caught a whiff to follow the delicious aroma. As the path opened up, a magnificent castle came into view. The walls were made of a glittering white stone that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight, and the towers reached high into the sky, their peaks hidden among the clouds. A sign above the entrance read, "Magical School of Wonder," and a banner strung across the gate declared, "Welcome, young adventurers." Quote, a group of children, ranging in age from 6 to 12, stood at the gate, their eyes wide with excitement. They had all received an invitation to attend the Magical School of Wonder, and they couldn't wait to see what wonders the school held. The children were led through the gate and into the castle by a tall, stately woman with long, curly brown hair and a warm smile. She introduced herself as Professor Petunia, the headmistress of the school. "Welcome, young friends," Professor Petunia said, her voice dripping with warmth. "I am thrilled to have you join our community of young adventurers. You are about to embark on a journey that will take you to the most wondrous places, introduce you to the most fascinating creatures, and teach you the most magical of skills." As the children followed Professor Petunia through the castle, they marveled at the sights and sounds around them. They passed through grand halls with ceilings that seemed to stretch up to the stars, and rooms filled with strange and wondrous objects that seemed to defy explanation. The first room they came to was the Great Hall of Learning. The room was filled with long tables and chairs, and the walls were lined with shelves filled with books, scrolls, and strange artifacts. In the center of the room, a large stone fireplace crackled and spat, casting a warm glow over the room. Professor Petunia led the children to a long table in the center of the room, where a feast was spread out before them. There were all manner of delicious-looking dishes, from golden brown pies to steaming plates of vegetables. The children's eyes grew wide as they took in the spread before them. "Welcome to our first meal together," Professor Petunia said, beaming. "I hope you are all as hungry as I am, because we have a lot of eating to do. After all, a good meal is the key to a good education." Quote, the children dug in with gusto, savoring the flavors and textures of the dishes before them. As they ate, Professor Petunia told them stories of the school's history, of the magical creatures that lived on the grounds, and of the wonders that lay ahead. After the meal, the children were led to their dormitories, where they would be spending the next few weeks. The dormitories were cozy and comfortable, with soft beds and plush pillows. The children were given a few minutes to settle in and freshen up before their first class. Their first class was Introduction to Magic, taught by Professor Sparkles, a tiny, mischievous-looking wizard with a wild shock of white hair. Professor Sparkles led the children on a tour of the castle, pointing out the various magical artifacts and objects that were hidden throughout the walls. As they walked, Professor Sparkles taught the children about the different types of magic, from elemental magic to illusions and beyond. The children listened with wide eyes, eager to learn the secrets of the magical arts. After their first class, the children were given a few hours of free time to explore the castle and get to know their new classmates. They spent the afternoon playing games, exploring hidden passages, and making new friends. As the sun began to set, the children gathered back in the Great Hall for dinner. The meal was just as delicious as the first, and the children laughed and chatted as they ate. After dinner, Professor Petunia led the children to the castle's grand ballroom, where a special surprise was waiting for them. The room was filled with a dazzling array of lights and colors, and the children's eyes grew wide as they took in the spectacle before them. Suddenly, the lights dimmed, and a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a tall, slender man with a kind face and a twinkle in his eye. He introduced himself as Professor Nightshade, the school's resident expert on the mysterious and unknown. Professor Nightshade told the children that he had a special gift for them, one that would help them on their journey through the magical world. He led them to a small, hidden room deep in the castle, where a strange and wondrous object awaited them. The object was a small, glowing orb that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Professor Nightshade told the children that this was the magical core of the school, and that it would guide and protect them as they explored the magical world. As the night drew to a close, the children returned to their dormitories, their minds buzzing with excitement and wonder. They knew that they were in for an adventure like no other, and they couldn't wait to see what wonders the magical School of Wonder had in store for them. The next few weeks passed in a blur of classes, adventures, and new friendships. The children learned about the different types of magic, and they began to develop their own unique skills and talents. They explored the castle and its grounds, discovering hidden passages and secret rooms. As the days turned into weeks, the children began to notice that something strange was going on. Objects would disappear and reappear, and strange noises could be heard in the corridors at night. It was as if the castle itself was alive, and it was watching them with a curious eye. One night, as the children were settling in for the night, they heard a strange noise coming from the great hall. It sounded like whispers, and it seemed to be growing louder. The children exchanged nervous glances, and they crept out of their dormitories to investigate. As they entered the great hall, they saw that the room was filled with a faint, flickering light. The whispers seemed to be coming from the walls themselves, and the children could feel a strange, tingling sensation in the air. Suddenly, the light grew brighter, and the whispers grew louder. The children saw that the walls were beginning to glow, and they could feel the magic of the school coursing through their veins. Professor Petunia appeared, her eyes shining with a warm, golden light. "Welcome, young friends," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "You have been chosen for a great honor. You have been chosen to be the guardians of the magical School of Wonder." The children looked at each other in confusion, and Professor Petunia explained that the school was in danger. A dark force was threatening to destroy the school, and only the children could stop it. The children nodded, determination in their eyes. They knew that they had to save the school, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With Professor Petunia's guidance, the children set out on a quest to save the magical School of Wonder. They traveled through magical forests and crossed treacherous mountains, facing dangers at every turn. But with their newfound powers and their determination to save the school, the children were able to overcome even the most daunting challenges. They discovered hidden strengths and talents, and they learned to work together as a team. In the end, the children were successful in their quest. They defeated the dark force and saved the magical School of Wonder. The school was forever changed, and the children were hailed as heroes. As they returned to the school, they were greeted with a hero's welcome. The other students and professors cheered and clapped, and Professor Petunia beamed with pride. "You have done it, young friends," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "You have saved the magical School of Wonder, and you have proven yourselves to be true heroes. I am honored to be your headmistress, and I know that you will always be remembered as the bravest and most talented students the school has ever seen." And with that, the children's adventure came to an end. They had saved the magical School of Wonder, and they had learned the value of teamwork, determination, and the power of magic. They would always cherish the memories of their time at the school, and they would never forget the lessons they had learned. The magical School of Wonder would always be a place of wonder and magic. and the children who had attended it would always be its greatest heroes. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.